In today's video, we are going to cover another card spiking over 1100% since last week. In the second half of the video, we are going to be taking a look at more reserve list cards that are being bought out. There's a lot of action in today's video, so stay tuned. The one thing you can say about a new set like Bloomburrow is the FOMO action that comes with the package deal. Players get excited and start looking at other cards to build with to augment a Bloomburrow Commander deck. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thank you again for hanging out with me on the channel today. A reminder, guys, before we start today's video, that if you enjoy hanging out with the Moxman and you want to see more content, all you got to do is like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notification bell. I put out new stuff every single day. Now, Bloomburrow is not the direct line conversation today. Yes, it's selling well. Yes, things are selling out and people are getting crazy up there. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about what's going on in that market because of Bloomburrow. Yes, a lot of reserve list cards are getting significant action. I will cover a lot of those cards this weekend in the reserve list top 10. That is on Sundays at 11:15 Eastern Standard Time. Mark it on the calendar because there's some craziness going on that you might be interested to know about, to see where people are spending all that hard-earned ducats that they earn every week. But there's also modern cards being sold, and that's what we're going to focus on with the second half of this video, diving in. So let's take a look at the card that just spiked up 1100%. I know, craziness. Here is Olivia, Opulent Outlaw. Commander, Outlaws of Thunder Junction. This card was a couple of bucks, and it went through the roof, okay, since last week. Over 1100%. Let's take a closer look at the card and see what we're dealing with. Now, Olivia, the Opulent Outlaw, is 1 black, 1 white, 1 red, and 1 generic. It is a legendary creature, vampire assassin. No, I'm not big on the whole imagery there, by the way. I think vampire should be scary. This looks like she's dancing at some kind of party. I don't care. It doesn't get me. Now, this vampire assassin is a 3/3. It has flying. It has lifelink. That's great. But it says whenever one or more outlaws you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks are outlaws. But look at the number 3. Sacrifice 2 treasures. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Now, as if the treasure effect wasn't good enough, it looks like a lot of people are diving in on that secondary ability of each creature you control to really ramp up maybe Nadu, maybe some other decks they're thinking of, but the sales have been huge on this card. And that is something players need to know, because if you're going to buy this card, I'll tell you right now, this is not the time. This is unless you care about the 20 bucks you're about to spend buying this card. Hey, some people don't like to wait, but the market tells us that after about 90 days, this will wear down. 8 times out of 10. You notice I didn't say 9 out of 10? It's 8 times out of 10, because there is a percentage chance that card will actually go higher if it is built in strong enough decks and enough players take notice and continue to buy it. So keep that in mind as well. Depending on where you fall, on what side of the fence of finances you may be buying this card, maybe you already speculated on it, maybe you just dropped it and said, I'm not really caring right now about Olivia. Maybe you're hating Nadu, maybe you're loving Nadu. The point is, a lot of Commander cards are moving right now, a lot of Bloomburrow action. And that brings us to our second part. Guys, there's a lot of reserve list cards that players kind of overlook and don't think about until these moments. The card could have been $2 and now it's $20 because everyone's buying it. Could have been a $16 card and it goes to $90. So let's take a look at our first card. Yes, Deranged Hermit continues to sell. This card is now over the $78 mark. It's now at $79. The good news is this card is starting to plateau. It is slowing down, but there's still way too many sales than there should be for a card like this. The squirrel lovers have spoken, and they have put down the money to say this card is worthy of it. Now, for 2 green, 3 generic, this 1/1 creature elf with Echo 5. Remember, at the beginning of your upkeep, if this came under your control since the beginning of your last upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay its Echo cost. So you got to pay it again. Next turn, you got to pay 5 again to keep this guy on the battlefield, or you let it go, okay? But that being said, this guy also comes into play. You get 4 1/1 green squirrel tokens, and all the squirrels get +1/+1 if he stays in play. Very interesting mechanics on the card when you're looking at something this long ago, okay? Legacy, guys. I put up the other image just to show you they do different artworks and stuff, but that's what we're talking about. I want to show the more modern art, where the background, you'll see the legacy one. Just so you guys are wondering if the Moxman has lost his mind. Now, that being said again, let's not forget the value we're talking about here, okay? This card used to be like 16, 17 bucks, and people have been buying it as it's been spiking. And they don't care, they want to own it. The good news is, this doesn't appear to be speculators anymore. This appears to be players who want hard-earned cards. They want the good stuff. They want that reserve list card in their deck right away, and they're willing to pay the money to get it now. That also means that a lot of people who had these reserve list cards made a lot of money. And if you focus on buying some of these reserve list cards when they're at their lowest point, you will come out ahead in the long run. So always pay attention to the reserve list. Always focus on cards you think are going to have a lot of usage, which brings us to our second card. And this one didn't really get me by surprise that much. This is the Seeds of Innocence, and this is from Mirage. This card is $5.74. It's still really cheap. Right now, it shows a monthly negative. Now, by the time you watch this video, that may not be the case, because this card sold hundreds of copies by the time I did a count yesterday. When you take a look at what this card does, it is 2 green and 1 generic, and this sorcery says, bury all artifacts. Each artifact's controller gains life equal to the artifact's casting cost. So depending on what you are building to face off with, this card is one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest way to board clear every artifact. They don't get to regenerate. They don't get to come back. They're just gone. They are buried. That card for $5 is a steal. Now, I already know on TCG Player and things like that, it's already over $8, $9, okay? So I already know the market is going to show a spike later on. I just don't know when MTG stocks will catch up to things, but when they do, you're going to see the card has risen about 80 to 90% by the time this is settling. If the card continues to sell at this volume, we're going to see a lot more sales, and we might get another FOMO effect like we just did with Deranged Hermit. For a different reason, it affects a different deck, but it's the idea that cards like this used to be dirt cheap. Some of the sales show it at $2 for a moderately played, which means somebody who now is paying $8, $9 could have paid $2 a week ago. Focusing on the market effect of what happens afterwards is being reactive and not being proactive. And if you're a player who wants certain cards and maybe wants to build into the future with a certain deck mentality, you've got to buy ahead. You got to play smart. You got to play the market and buy when it's low. You got to focus on things when nobody else is focusing on it. And reserve list cards, I apologize at this point in the video. That was not intentional. When I do the research for these cards, and I do focus a lot on reserve list cards, most people on this channel know I have a long history with it, being with the game since the very beginning. I have a lot of these old cards, and I cherish them. I like to focus on that market. I always stay up to date on it so I know where these cards are selling and kind of why, if I can. So, Seeds of Innocence, players may need to know about this. If you're one of those players who needs to buy a copy, go ahead, spend less than $10, buy it now, don't worry about it. If this thing goes higher again, like we've seen in the past, if you take a look here again, and you see this thing used to be over $50. Remember that, 2021. It's not going to go there. So if you're a speculator, don't worry about it. There's still lots of copies out there. They're still readily available. But yes, it has sold a couple hundred copies. I expect it to be one of the higher cards on the top 10 this weekend, as well as Deranged Hermit. Now, if you're at this point of the video, although I'm not showing this card, Yavimaya Hollow continues to have strong sales. Liege of Hollows continues to have sales, as well as Swarm Yard now is starting to really take off. So we're seeing a lot more action in modern cards and reserve list cards, all related to animals, all related to squirrels or other animal-like creatures that can benefit from them. So Bloomborough is definitely turning heads and really taking the market approach that there's a lot of cards affected by it. And a lot of cards are going to be interesting to build with. And that gets the market moving on these cards and buying them. And when one person buys and another person buys and somebody tells a friend, hey, it's $2, it's $3, it's $4, too many people start doing that. I'll just buy 6 copies. It's $18. I'll buy 6 copies. It's now $23. That's when we have an avalanche. That's when things can go crazy. And that's when speculators buy cards really cheap, sell really high. Guys, it's the market. It's the way it is. Have a great one. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Drop some comments in the comments section. Did you buy some of these cards? Were you one of those people? Or now you're looking back saying, I should have bought some of these cards. Either way, it's a great day to be in the world of Magic the Gathering. I will see you guys on Saturday for the top 10 selling cards. And of course on Sunday for the reserve list top 10 and my live stream, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you guys then. Have a great one. Thanks again to all of my patrons. Because of these patrons, daily uploaded content is made possible. So whether you're one of my active patrons, whether you're one of my YouTube membership members, maybe you're a person who joined my Patreon and just doesn't say anything. Thanks again for being supporters of the channel. Thanks for being here. And I look forward to providing you guys with more content for years to come. So thanks again, guys. Shop smart, shop smart. We'll see you all tomorrow. Now let's take a moment here in this ramble jamble. You've made it to the end. Congratulations. You're special. You are. And let's say a Deranged Hermit is $79. $79. Let me put that calculator. But say you only bought them like 7 months ago for $16. Well, that means you make $63 profit on each Deranged Hermit you had, assuming you sold them in this market space. Let's assume you did. And let's say you paid $16, but you bought 40 copies. That's $640 of an investment. Pretty risky, right? You didn't know that they're going to have squirrels in this set, did we? Oh, wait, we did. We did know there was going to be squirrels. So I guess it's not as risky. And then you take that $63 profit and times it by those 40 Deranged Hermits minus your investment, and you walk away with about $1,800 before fees and shipping. Let's say $1,200 or $1,300. And then you go ahead and you buy a playset of Plateaus. For free, technically. Because you've paid for everything. You just get the play set of Plateaus for free. And a beat up Scrubland. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying I saw the images and receipts. Trading up, it can happen. Guys, have an awesome one. Thanks for hanging out. Pretty cool. Cheers.